Do you experience that you don't have built your product on a solid technical foundation and that you are unfamiliar with the used technologies? And do you experience that you don't have the right processes in place and you do not know if you are ready to scale up and how to automate? And do you keep forgetting the unimportant stuff, such as having backups or cybersecurity? And do you experience that you don't have any clue about the quality and the reliability of your software? Well, then this video is especially made for you. It explains why this is a problem and also how you can solve it. And in this clip from our very first webinar, Luciano will tell you all about this problem.
If you have a situation like you are building software using technologies you were not really familiar with before, if you're figuring out the correct database model or software architecture along the way, if you want to use all types of new technology, the newest of the newest, if you find that the foundation of your product is unstable, that a lot of bugs get introduced, where you didn't even touch code when implementing new features, then you probably were not building on a solid foundation using the technologies you are familiar with. It's a problem because you will have to maintain and continue development for many, many years. So you need to know the ins and the outs of the software which is running your software. And if you're a senior Java developer, let's say, that doesn't mean you're a senior Golang or Haskell developer. And the quality of your product will just be lower if you work with new or unfamiliar technologies. If you face issues like new team members taking months before they get used to the workflow and the way things go, or if releases are taking a few hours or maybe even a few days if you include all the manual testing, if you have your CTO, your tech lead clicking through all sorts of graphical interfaces for hours for every deployment, or if there's no clear chosen way of working, thing like Agile, Scrum, Kanban, whatever, or if you spend a lot of time on toil, so repetitive tasks that don't bring any value to the business, then you walk into the pitfall of not having appropriate processes in place and not being ready to scale up or scale up fast, and not automating tedious manual and repetitive tasks. It's a problem because it will take so much of your time to continue to do all sorts of manual work every day, every week. The development can get stuck when you cannot scale up fast, and the product will not be adapted to the market because of this. So how can you fix this? By doing it, by analyzing your workflows and trying to improve. Hold retrospectives and reflect on how things are going. And document how things are going. Document, so when new members come in, there's a document of this is how we work. That's really important. And then also on the automation part, automate it. Automate the most important, most common workflows that are now manual. So think of unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing. So you don't have to test for 2 hours before every release. So it's done automatically. Have a good and fast continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline for one-click automated deployment. So instead of waiting and then pressing all sorts of buttons, just have one button. And there it goes. If you want specific advice for your situation, by the way, feel free to email me on it. I'd love to get in touch and help you out. It's no strings attached. It's not like sales pitch or whatever. And also see what way of working makes sense for you. And stick with it. So Agile, Scrum, Kanban, just pick one that makes the most sense, stick with it. And make calculations whether to stick with repetitive tasks or to automate them. So a quick example. You have a task that takes 15 minutes. You have 5 developers and they all do it daily once. It will take 1 day, 8 hours, to automate it. Automate it in a way that it takes 5 minutes, so you will save 10 minutes. If you automate it within 2 weeks, you got your time investment back. So make these pragmatic calculations and see what makes sense, what you should automate, what you shouldn't. And also talk with each other about the problems you're facing. But if you're a developer, say, well, I've got to do this every day. Aren't you annoyed by it? Don't you think we can save time on this? Have these conversations. It's great, and it'll save you a lot of time and therefore money. This pitfall is related to things that you will only notice when it's too late. So think of situations like you are losing important and valuable data because a database table got truncated in some deployment migration script, or you are leaking confidential information and you have to inform all of your users that their data has been compromised, or you have unauthorized persons accessing your servers or databases because someone pushed some secret keys to a public Git repository. So that's why the pitfall here is neglecting seemingly unimportant things such as backup, cybersecurity, and handling secrets. And this is a problem because, well, I'm not going to explain why this is a problem. If you have a data leak or a massive data loss, it means the end of your startup. You're done for. So make sure that you fix this stuff. Make sure you are using managed databases that have point-in-time recovery. So when something goes wrong, you just say, I want to return to this exact point, and it's restored. Also make regular backups as well. And separate your production, staging, test, and development environments, and have automated tooling checking your code base for any secrets. So GitLab security scanning is very great for this. Have a deliberate process of dealing with data. Have a password vault, not some Excel sheet in Google Drive that everyone accesses. Adopt security best practices. Change your passwords every quarter. Enforce password strength within the company. And there are, of course, some DevSecOps. If I'm talking to the developers now, secure by design ideas. Don't use passwords. Use private public key. That sort of stuff. Just make sure it's fine. It'll take maybe an hour to set it up. 1 hour versus losing your whole company because stuff got compromised. I know what I would do. If you don't know how often your app crashes, or not knowing how many API requests fails, or if you have maybe your services could have been down for 2 days and you didn't even know. That is not knowing the quality and reliability of your software. So how can you fix this? Bare minimum, have health checks, get notified on downtime, and log crashes. I can give some concrete examples of what software you can use. Use Sentry for if you have server-side issues or app crashes, log them to Sentry. For the server, use Prometheus and Grafana. For most programming languages and frameworks, is plug and play. That's the bare minimum you need to have. So, and then on a related but different point, collect the right data and have the right metrics. That's not only valuable for behind the scenes for development, but it can also be very valuable to use some metrics to see how well your solution is doing in practice. And Daniel from Airship has some very interesting things to say on this.
Well, we had to wait a long time for it since the start of the product development, but we have been thinking about all the metrics that we could take out of our product, right? If you would now go to an event organizer, you would ask what are waiting times for people to get into the to get a drink, or what's the efficiency of each bartender, right? You have no idea. You have metadata of the whole event, but no specific behavior in the efficiency of the hospitality. But what was really great is that the efficiency figures and the waiting times, even in the most peak moments of an event, where normally this would be 4, 5, 6, 7 people deep, the lines, given from my experience, there were no waiting lines. There was more revenue processed per worked hour than we would ever imagine, and where we expected around one phone, we use phones as a point of sale device, one phone per 200 people. We felt that we could easily run peak pressure at around 500 visitors per phone, which is a great underscoring of what we've been modeling before.
And did you like this video? We have much more content for you to read and view. For instance, our other videos and of course our website. Together with you, we want to achieve growth for your startup. And we want to enable this by development, UX design, and of course, determining the strategy. Feel free to contact us with no strings attached, and let's see what we can accomplish together.